Okay, so the rules for the recent chapter of One Punch Man just dropped, which is chapter 169, and this chapter is pretty much, as I predicted in the last chapter, like a wrap-up of the Saitama versus Cosmic Garou fight, and essentially that's what happened in this chapter. But we're going to be breaking down and just kind of going through what happened in the chapter, and obviously once translations drop, I'll make a separate video of it in more detail, I guess. But of course, before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because if you can't already tell, I post a lot of One Punch Man content, so if you like One Punch Man, this place is definitely for you. But apart from that, let's get into the video. So this chapter starts off exactly where we left off in the last one. We see that Garou's face is starting to like melt or dissolve away, meaning that all of his cosmic powers are, leaving him. And we see that in the next panel, the other heroes that, Garou was about to like kill were looking down on Garou and they're like about to beat him up. And we then switch our attention away to Saitama and Genos, and we see that Genos' core is starting to light up, and we see that Genos is like, the core that Saitama brought from his time travel is like connecting to Genos' brain, and we see that all of the memories of Saitama and what he's done comes to Genos, comes back to Genos' mind. So it's basically as if Genos watched the entire fight and everything that happened in the alternate like reality, the alternate time travel reality where like Garou died, the one we saw in the last chapter. But we then switch our attention once again to Genos thinking back at, what happened with Garou killing him in the, other dimension world, the other time travel world. I'm not too sure what to call it. I might just call it, alternate reality. I don't know. But then we see that Genos in like a comedic sequence starts like talking a lot to Saitama. And we see that all the stuff Genos is saying is just coming out of the other ear for Saitama. And then we carry on and we then see that, Saitama starts, I guess, he seems pretty serious in this panel, the one I'm looking at right now. We see that Genos is looking at him, and I'm guessing Genos is like admiring Saitama's strength, since we now know that Genos knows what happens, with Ayo and everything, and how Saitama defeated Cosmic Garou. And of course, we see that in this panel, Genos is smiling, which, I can infer from this that Genos is, as I said before, probably just admiring Saitama's strength. We then switch our attention to Tario, who is not dead in this alternate reality. And we see that Tario jumps up, and we see that like Garou's alternate form, the one that died in the alternate dimension, is like, I guess, looking at Tario for the last time. It's like classic anime stuff. You know what happens when you see this panel, you'll get what I'm trying to say. And we see that then Tario kind of like gets to his senses, and when we switch our attention to Garou, who is now getting beaten by the other heroes, and I'm guessing that Garou is like letting this happen, because even though his cosmic powers has left him, I'm pretty sure Garou could probably still take these guys. But regardless, I guess Garou is getting beaten down here. And we then see that Metal Bat tries to intervene and tries to like say, Garou is not a completely bad guy, since he did help Metal Bat with Sage Centipede. But we see that a My Mask comes in to stop Metal Bat, and we know that a My Mask is like a typical, trying to eradicate evil and all that good stuff. But in the next arc, we'll see a few interesting things about a My Mask. The webcomic readers know, but I'm not gonna spoil too much here. But we then switch our attention to Flashy Flash, who is looking at Saitama and just talking, and we then see that Genos and Saitama then get to the to the place where Garou is getting beaten down, and we see that Bang is also here, and Zombie Man. We see that Zombie Man starts talking to Garou, but we see that Garou is like smiling and like shouting, probably talking about how he'll never accept the heroes or whatever. As I said, these are like the rules, so we don't know exactly what's going on here, but once the translations come out, we will know what's being said here, of course. We then go to a My Mask. We see that My Mask is about to punch Garou, but we see that Tario comes in and grabs onto a My Mask's leg and stops him from punching Garou. And we see that King is also witnessing this. And as King is witnessing it, he's looking at Garou, and I guess he's like seeing the good in Garou, I'm guessing, since, Tario is protecting him. And we know that King has been like escorting Tario this entire time. So I'm guessing King is like trusting Tario's judgment on Garou at this point. But this is what I'm just inferring from this. But we then see like a My Mask start to get a little bit angry at Tario here, and we see that King comes in and stops the other heroes by using his King engine and intimidating them. And we see that obviously this stops everyone from like trying to kick down Garou or whatever. And then we see Saitama start talking to Tario and Garou, and we see that I guess Saitama is vouching for Garou as well, because what we can see from here, we see that, you know, we're flashing back to when Garou was facing, well, not facing, but when Garou basically hit Platinum S and Evil Natural Water whilst they were facing off against King in, you know, the couple of chapters ago. Not actually a couple, pretty long ago now, but I guess this is another way to, I guess, cover up Garou's bad, because, you know, Garou did technically help the heroes at some points, you know, like for example with Metal Bat and Sage Centipede, and we also see, as Saitama said, with like Platinum S and Evil Ocean Water. And then we see that Garou's like, he, in his eyes here, it looks as if he's like appreciating what King and Saitama is doing for him. But then we see something coming out from the ground, and this is obviously, you know, this has got the attention of all heroes and even Garou and everything. And we see that this is actually Metal Knight. Yes, this is actually Metal Knight, and it actually does make sense, because as we saw in like in the last fight with Boros, which was years ago now, we see that Metal Bat actually came to the battlefield after everything has happened and like collects data and information and everything. And we see that in the sky there's like a bunch of like mini Metal Knight drones, just like, I guess, sucking in the gas, or I'm guessing this is like the gas that Garou created. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think this is it. And I'm pretty sure Metal Knight is gonna like go away and do like some tests, research or whatever, which I don't put it past Metal Knight. Metal Knight is the type of character to do this. And also this kind of like keeps the mystery around Metal Knight, because so far, I don't know about you guys, but you know, from the manga's perspective, we still don't know a lot about Metal Knight, and that's gonna change in the next arc for sure. I can say that for sure. Well, assuming that the next arc is what I think it's going to be, which is the Neo Heroes arc. And I made a video about this. I made a couple of videos about the next arc of One Punch Man after the Monster Association, and we're getting closer and closer. So I'm guessing like we might fully go into the next arc in like 2 or 3 chapters, because I predicted in my last video that actually we're gonna see Psychos versus Fubuki before this whole arc wraps up, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen in the next chapter, because as I predicted in my last video, which was a prediction video in chapter 169, I predicted that this chapter will be like a wrap up for Saitama versus Garou, and lo and behold, I was correct. So yes, do subscribe, because my predictions are always 100% correct. But apart from that, that's pretty much it, to be honest. That's all there is for this chapter. And once again, I rate this arc like a solid 9 out of 10. This was a very good arc. Like, I would say this is like easily the best One Punch Man arc we've got so far in the series. Tell me what you guys think about this arc in the comments. Tell me what you guys think about this chapter. I feel like a lot of people might, you know, they might not be too happy with this chapter, since the hype is, you know, has gone down and everything. But I mean, what else can you really expect? Like, the fight is over, you know, which is kind of, you know, connecting, you know, wrapping up the last things here. I don't even know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say like connecting the dots. Does that make sense? Anyway, I've been talking too much. I'll see you guys in my next video.